Alright, what's going on guys? It's GCP here, and as if the news out of Call of Duty headquarters or Infinity Ward's camp for Modern Warfare could not get worse, it just keeps getting worse.
Oh my god!
So we just recently found out what I just read was that Dallas Empire's James Clayster Eubanks has addressed how Call of Duty pros gave early feedback on Modern Warfare. This was months before the game was released, and it was all ignored by the developers at Infinity Ward.
Oh, hell no!
Now, honestly, does that surprise me? No, it was not a surprise that the Infinity Ward developers ignored the pros. But to be honest, wow, if they can ignore the pros, then that tells you all you need to hear. Honestly, we already know that these guys have ignored the Call of Duty community, the public community. Now we've come to find out that they have ignored the pros as well. And I wouldn't even be surprised if more Call of Duty pros felt the same way that Scump did in my last video. Like, honestly, because of him getting fined, I know there's a lot of closet pros who want to share the exact same opinion. And who knows? For some reason, this just came out from Clayster. I have a feeling this boy is about to catch a fine too. Unfortunately. And that's just the state of Call of Duty. And this is an article that I read on Dexerto. It said that countless pro players, analysts, and coaches alike have all been vocal in their frustrations with the competitive scene of late. 10 months into the game's release, and very little has been done to address not only public feedback, as that's quite evident, but criticism coming from the best players in the world. In a June 17 episode of the Bakery podcast, Clayster outlined how pros have been ignored the entire time, even in the months leading up to Modern Warfare's launch.
That nigga's tripping.
What are your honest thoughts around the game? Podcast host Joshua Baker asked. In all honesty, it's a good game, Clayster replied. Warzone's awesome, Gunfight was awesome, even Ground War is pretty fun, but just competitively, it's tough. It's really tough to play consistently. Now, if this is how he feels about competitive, I don't think he's played enough of pubs to know how Modern Warfare really feels. Now, is the game overall horrible? Is it the worst Call of Duty game ever? In my opinion, it's not. But to some people, it is. I mean, Scum feels that way. I know a lot of the community members feel that way. But to me, it's not the worst Call of Duty game. To me, that's Advanced Warfare. And to a lot of people, it was Infinite Warfare. So it's definitely up there. But to me, I think this game could have had potential to be a really, really good Call of Duty. But my goodness, the decisions that these developers took, Activision took with the thick skill-based matchmaking, the map design, oh my god, the red dot minimap.
2 hours later.
Dead Silence not being a perk. Like, honestly, the list can go on and on and on. This could have had a lot of potential to be a great Call of Duty game, but guess what? These developers ignored the community, and again, like I said before, we have just learned that they have ignored the pro Call of Duty players as well. This was months leading up to the game.
We're gonna do a deep dive on our...
And then Clayster goes on to explain that we've gone through the proper channels, submitted documents of feedback that are well written, no emotion, and they don't do anything with it. Oh my god, like honestly, this is something that we as a community feel. Months before the game came out, pros were trying to get domination flag changes. They also put together locations for new bomb sites in Search and Destroy, for instance, though none of their feedback was ever taken on board. We've had zero help on all of that from the developer. I think that's where a lot of the frustration from the pro players comes from. If they were to fix them, it would be a sick game. Now that is actually really disappointing, man. I mean, honestly, if you're not listening to your best players in the game, what are you guys doing? Pro players, you're not even listening to pro players? I mean, honestly, it just boggles my mind. It really boggles my mind that these developers are not willing to listen to any feedback. We have already known that they don't respond to the community. We know they don't respond to the community unless you're praising their game. You know, Joe Seacott, all he wants to do is retweet or reply to people who say positive things about the game, and only positive things about the game. Ashton Williams, the community manager, barely even tweeted out anything about Modern Warfare. She was busy tweeting about her favorite NFL teams half the time, and now until recently she has just started retweeting or putting out tweets regarding certain updates in the game, but she doesn't actually respond or reply to people's comments unless they're having like bug issues. Like what? I mean, what kind of development team is this? This is not a responsive team at all. A lot of them just ignore us, act like we're third-rate, players, or we don't know what we're talking about. A lot of us have played this game for years and years and years, and you act like we don't know what we're talking about? Now, I understand from a development standpoint, yes, we might not know the development of the game, how that goes, but that's why you listen to feedback. That's why you try to listen to the players who are playing your game and try to improve it. But these guys don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. That is absolutely insane to me. I mean, honestly, I've talked about this since the beginning of Call of Duty. Some of the things that we were frustrated with, and this is what happens when developers have a vision that they don't want changed at all, or they don't want any difference in opinion whatsoever. This is what happens. This is what I was talking about in my last video. This is that closed-mindedness that does not get you anywhere. This is not what you want to do as a company, as a development studio, is not listen to the community, not listen to the people who are playing your game. I mean, that's just crazy, man. I mean, what else do I say? Man? These guys just don't get it. I don't think they've ever gotten it. And that's why I think Infinity Ward is one of the most incompetent studios out there. I mean, I don't think I'd want to buy an Infinity Ward game again if these are the same people behind it. The same development team. I mean, what happened to Infinity Ward? Infinity Ward had some really great games. I mean, the original Modern Warfare, not Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered because that was trash. The original COD 4, they had Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 3 personally was not one of my favorites, but I know a lot of people enjoyed Modern Warfare 3. But man, dude, what happened to Infinity Ward? It's just not the exact same Infinity Ward. These are not obviously the same developers. My goodness, man, what happened over there? This is why I prefer Treyarch games, because they at least do a better job of involving the community and listening to that feedback. So I don't know, man. Like I said before, it doesn't surprise me that these Call of Duty players, especially the pros, were ignored, because this is just the exact same thing that happened to us in the Call of Duty community who are not pros. But we are veterans, and obviously our opinions don't matter to these guys. Absolutely insane. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about that. Does this surprise you at all, or is it just more of the same and you already have learned to expect it? With that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to hit the bell to be notified whenever I upload. And with that being said, this is GCP signing off.